my phone, so I can't see the screen. Is quite small for me. Ah, actually, I can make it bigger. All right, thank you.
Yeah, so greetings, comrades, and revolutionary greetings to all of you, comrades. I feel most welcome to our Consciousness Study Group. Uh, this is our philosophical and ideological study grouping, where we basically study the book of Kwame Nkrumah called Consensusism or Consciousness, which is the Pan-African philosophy and ideology for decolonizing Africa. Now people ask themselves, which ideology? What's our philosophy? What's our common ideology? And sometimes people don't think about consciousness as a philosophy. Some see it as a book written by Kwame Nkrumah. But he provides his thinking as a radical Pan-Africa or progressive Pan-Africa and pack it into this book, which actually is his philosophy and his ideology. Some either say Nkrumahism, but this consciousness is a philosophy and ideology by Kwame Nkrumah for decolonizing Africa. Now we've been dedicating our time to study every word that Nkrumah has put in this book. Being a philosophical book and an ideological book, is not just a book for the purpose of reading, but rather for us to understand the context and the message Nkrumah has for us. If this is the philosophy for decolonizing Africa, where is the formula? So the formula for decolonizing Africa is in this book. So we've been doing a reading of every paragraph and discuss a maximum of 2 paragraphs every Thursday for the last as many years as possible. Brother Kwame started doing this physically almost 10 years ago. We've moved online to do the same thing, reading progressively every paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. And I've been here for almost now, I'll be marking almost, in fact, I'm 3 years old since 2022 to date, attending these classes every Thursday without a fail. So we started from the introduction, and so far we're in chapter 3. We still have 2 chapters to go, but we dedicate our time to actually share our thinking. So in this group and this space, what we do is we share our thinking. We read what Nkrumah has put in text, and we then share our thinking. So we are here to cultivate thinking and ensure that we critically share our thinking, not basically opinions. Is what do you think out of the text? How can you relate it to either the contemporary issues, or how do you understand it in the level of not even understanding? How do you think about it? So that's what we've been doing, and all the recordings of all our classes since introduction are all available on our YouTube channel, which is Consciousness Study Group on YouTube. We have uploaded over 200, close to 50. So every Thursday session from introduction is on our YouTube channel. This Thursday class is the main class for us, but over a period of time we've moved to even having a Saturday class that is purely focusing on the conversation around the unification of Africa. So every Thursday we engage on a topic or on a presentation, on a discussion actually about the unification of Africa. And the key question in our Saturday session is what must be done? What must we do in order to unite Africa? So that class also has been moving on for the last almost 2 years, every Saturday without a fail, doing the same work, and we've been sharing our recording. On Tuesdays, we have a Kiswahili class, which I actually also lead, to teach Pan-Africans free Swahili as a purpose of unifying the continent in terms of language. We have also come up with a Pan-African library where we share texts written by blacks or African authors or about Africa. So far in the last 4 to 5 months, we've shared around 5,000 to 6,000 soft copy books that are available on our Telegram account that you have opened, and it was previously being shared on our WhatsApp channel, WhatsApp group, and I do 50 books every day. I'm the librarian, but this is our initiative as well. And now we have a class that will be coming anytime soon, probably on Tuesdays or Monday, on the key concepts of consciousness. So key concept of consciousness is some of the terms used in consciousness. We are going to have a dedicated class to expound on them so that people can be able to understand them clearly and critically, since these are philosophical texts. I'm reading another program on Sunday on reading the book called Defeating the Dictator, for those who are also interested. So our space for consciousness is actually occupied with activities that are geared towards educating and helping us in the struggle for the liberation, the unification, and development of Africa. So, comrades, once again, we do thank your presence, and thank you very much for finding time even to come here so that we can converse. Some times back, I was told everything starts with a conversation. So, feel most welcome. Our team is here with us, Brother Kwame. Brother Kwame, you can say something so that we can start our reading.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I would just wanted to add to your welcome to say that we welcome everyone who has joined us, including those new people who have joined us. Please continue to come. Pigeon, am I audible? Okay.
Yeah, you're audible, brother.
Yeah. Okay. So what I wanted to say very quickly is that in terms of the book Conscientism, it is, as Brother Pigeon said, it's everything Brother Pigeon said. I just wanted to add that it is a book that summarizes the philosophical and ideological journey of Kwame Nkrumah from around 1935 to 1957, almost 20 years, when he went to the US to study and met George Padmore in London on his way back. And then together they organized the 1945 Pan-African Congress in Manchester, which was led by, or which was in fact put together by the trade unions. People don't sometimes remember this. It was trade unions that put together the Pan-African Conference. And a lot of those who attended were trade unionists. So that journey from 1935, when Nkrumah left the shores of Ghana as a stowaway in a ship, and all the way to US, studied there, and then came to London, and then from London in I believe it was 1947, I believe, where he left London for Accra. So all the struggle that the people of the world went to. Remember, in those days, India was not free. So we worked with the Indians also here in London, here in the UK. I live in the UK at the moment. Thank you. And they worked together, and having worked together in London, because they had a common cause. They all wanted to be free of colonial rule. So they worked together. So in 1945, they all went. As you know, 1945, the clarion call was go back to your colonies and liberate them. And so they went to their colonies to liberate them. And remember, I mentioned Banda because it's Chizoba who's with us here. So Banda also went to Banda, as you know, is from Malawi, and he went to Malawi, and Nkrumah went to then the Gold Coast. Others went to Nigeria, and so on and so forth. And then they fought for the independence of their colonial territories. And then the argument, in those days, they wanted to unify West Africa. And those of you who know the history of West Africa, West Africa had one single currency in those days. And we still have the West African Examinations Council, based in Nigeria mainly, which all West Africans adhere to. So that still remains. So the struggle for independence was led by Nkrumah, and that started in 1947, and it continued for 10 years, and it was in 1957 that Nkrumah put to Parliament the bill for Ghana to get independence, and on 6th March 1957, Ghana got independence. And when Ghana got independence, Nkrumah, on that famous day, Nkrumah said that the independence of Ghana. Pigeon, am I still on air? Not sure if.
Yeah, you're audible, brother.
Okay, thank you. So on 6 March 1957, when the flag of Ghana went up and the British flag came down, Nkrumah said a lot of things, including the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa. So with that clarion call, he laid the torch for the decolonization of the whole of Africa. And right beside him was George Padmore, who worked with him on the African Bureau. And after all this struggle, Nkrumah sat down and put together this book that we are reading today called Consensusism. The basics, when he set it out in terms of its structure, was at Flagstaff House in Accra, which was the presidential premises. And one of the gentlemen who was there has passed away now. But he's a brother of Charles Heyman, who is my mentor when it comes to consensusism. First time I'm mentioning this here, that Charles Heyman was my mentor. He is the one that told me that if you want to understand Nkrumah, you must read consensusism. This is many, many, many years ago. And he is the one that said to me, I'm now satisfied you can call yourself the professor of consensusism. So I have Charles Heyman to thank. He's passed away now. His son and I went to the same secondary school. It's his son that introduced me to his father. Now his brother, Eric Heyman, is the one that was at Flagstaff House when Nkrumah first introduced consensusism on a chalk and black board, which those of you who recall in those days, when we went to school, it was chalk and a white board. Today we have electronic boards. I know some countries or some schools still have blackboards, but here in England, it's all electronic boards and whiteboards. So Nkrumah, then he had a group called the Philosophy Club. That Philosophy Club is where they would meet and discuss philosophy and ideology. I mean, this is serious business. This is a president running a government and leading a decolonization movement on the continent of Africa, meeting people like Eric, Professor Abraham, and others, and they would discuss philosophy and ideology. And so after all that, he put together this book called Consensusism. And so this book is not Nkrumah's personal philosophy or ideology as such. It is a philosophy and ideology for decolonization with particular reference to the African Revolution. This is the full title of the book. And that's the book we are reading. So I mentioned this to let you know that what you guys are doing, what we are doing here, is we have brought alive Nkrumah's Philosophy Club. And that is why people are hearing of us. And Brother Pigeon got me in touch with a brother in South Africa who shook Nkrumah's hand and who knew Nkrumah personally, a former lecturer. And I spoke to him briefly. We will speak again more. And he got in touch because he heard that we were reading Consensusism and studying it. So, Brother Pigeon, I just thought I'll put this also on record. As you mentioned, the book as an introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Kwame. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Now, thank you very much for that introduction. I think it was very important to put what you're doing into context and the importance and the historical links. So this is a continuation of what was started many years ago by Nkrumah himself. which was then picked up by other comrades, including Brother Kwame, physically. It went online, and some of us have still come back to do it. The likes like Sister Ida is one of the oldest member on the virtual meetings for this. And we are picking up with the purpose that let's learn together the philosophy and ideology for the colonization of Africa, with particular reference to the African Revolution struggle. And we've learned a lot. We've it have been transformed a bit. So I can honestly say that I am a bit, I look the things differently. That's why I say that the revolution must be linked to some ideology. So comrades, without wasting much time, we do take 2 hours maximum. And we are 23 minutes past actually 7 p.m. in London. Here is around 9 p.m. We will only be reading the paragraphs highlighted, and we go around after the reading to ask members to share their thinking. For those who are new in this class, we go around and ask you, what do you think? You are free to ask any definition of any text. You are equally free even to just share your thinking per word, as per word. We allow you to do that, and your thinking is your thinking. So nobody judges you of your thinking. It's just that we build our thinking together. So this is chapter 3. And I think this is the third reading of chapter 3. So before I go to this highlighted text, permit me to read for you the introduction of chapter 3, which is only 2 paragraphs above, for the purpose of putting this to context for the new members who have joined us. But once I've done that, I'll request one of us, as we always do, to read for us the highlighted paragraphs so that we can start our discussion in regards to the highlighted paragraphs. Now, chapter 3 is society and ideology. This is a chapter that then follows chapter 2, which was philosophy and society. And chapter 1, philosophy in retrospect. So in this chapter 3, society and ideology, these are the few 2 lessons or 2 readings we've done in the past. And I'll read it slowly as we read. When we read, we advise whoever is reading to read it a bit slowly so that members can then be able to digest the words as they are shared. When I started this classing, I was reading very fast. I would be told, calm down, Pigeon, just slow down a bit. But I'm now been able to master the slow reading so that you can process this. Now, let me read that paragraphs very briefly. Then we will focus on our paragraph today, just for the purpose to bring some of us up to speed. Now, it starts by saying that in the last chapter, I tried to show and confirm by test cases that philosophy always arose from a social milieu, and that a social contention is always present in it, either explicitly or implicitly. Social milieu affects the content of philosophy, and the content of philosophy seeks to affect social milieu, either by conforming or by confirming it or by opposing it. In either case, philosophy implies something of the nature of an ideology. In the case where the philosophy confirms a social milieu, it implies something of the ideology of that society. In the other case, in which philosophy opposes a social milieu, it implies something of the ideology of a revolution against that social milieu. Philosophy, in its social aspect, can therefore be regarded as a pointing up an ideology. Now, on the motto page of my book, that's Nkrumah, Towards Colonial Freedom, I make the following quotation from Mazzini. The quote is, "Every true revolution is a program and derived from a new, general, positive, and organic principle. The first thing necessary is to accept that principle. Its development must then be confined to men who are believers in it, and emancipated from every tie or connection with any principle of an opposite nature." Now here, Mazzini asserts the connection between a revolution and an ideology. When the revolution has been successful, the ideology comes to characterize the society. It is the ideology which gives a continuance to the ensuing social milieu. Mazzini further states the principle to be general, positive, and organic. The statement, elucidation, and theoretical defense of such a principle will collectively form a philosophy. Hence, philosophy admits of being an instrument of ideology. Comrades, that's been the reading for our previous two classes. And therefore today we'll be moving to the highlighted paragraph. I will request anybody ready to read for us the first highlighted paragraph alone before we go to the second. So let's read the first highlighted paragraph and share our thinking on that.
I'll read it. It's Portia.
Yeah, Portia, please go ahead, sister.
Okay, you just want me to read starting from indeed and stopping at it.
Yes, and be very slowly.
Okay. Indeed, it can be said that in every society there is to be found an ideology. In every society, there is at least one militant segment, which is the dominant segment of that society. In communalistic societies, this segment coincides with the whole. This dominant segment has its fundamental principles, its beliefs about the nature of man and the type of society which must be created for man. Its fundamental principles help in designing and controlling the type of organization which the dominant segment uses. And the same principles give rise to a network of purposes which fix what compromises are possible or not possible. One can compromise over program, but not over principle. Any compromise over principle is the same as an abandonment of it.
Thank you. I believe I wanted us to tie it to the next one, but the next one goes on something else. So let's first of all discuss that first paragraph. What do you understand on the first paragraph? We start by definition of terms. So if there's anybody who feels that there's any term they want us to look for the definition, please feel free to raise your hand so that we get to the definition of the exact term you want. I'm trying to enlarge my screen so that we can see the paragraph. Anybody with any word that you might want us to check its meaning before we start? Any word you don't understand in the paragraph that we just read? Okay. Oh, okay. Having no hand up, it means we are all okay with every term used in this text. So with that, then we'll go ahead and start sharing our thinking. So who is ready to go first? We'll ensure everybody at least speaks something to the text. So who is ready to go first? Sawindok, please.
Yes, greetings to everybody.
Yeah, greetings, Sawindok.
But I was just a little bit sleeping. I wanted the second sentence. No, the third sentence. In communalistic societies, these segments coincides with a whole. The word coincides there.
Okay. You wanted the definition of the word coincides.
In the context.
Okay. Anybody who might help Sawindok to define the word coincides as per in this context? Anybody want to try?
Brother, I think what they're saying is it's parallel or it's complementing the whole. I think this is what it's saying. So it's a reflection of the people. I think that's what the text is saying.
Okay. Anybody with contrary thinking in regards to what Sister Portia said? Sister Tapua?
Hello everyone. Just to
Hello.
add, because in the word communalistic, you have the root word commune, which is to be together. So in a communalistic society, you cannot have the society to be defined as communalistic unless the principles in it coincide with the whole. Because then there is no communing if there is no coincidence with what everybody else in the society wants.
So the word coincide in that context, do you want to mean it conforms with or?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Matches. Very
Okay.
good. Yes, I agree with my sister.
Okay. So Sawindok, do you have any other question before we start sharing our thinking? Sawindok? Are you
Yes.
okay?
Yes, in my mind,
Yes.
in my understanding, this it ought to have been the opposite of coincides. I don't know how I understand it. That's why I asked the meaning in that context. But as it was explained, I'm fine with it. I don't know why I went to understand it to be the ought to have been the opposite. But I'm
Okay.
fine.
Sorry.
So,
I think
okay, Sister Tapua.
I see where you're coming from, Sewinbrook, because the previous sentences are discussing the militant segment, which is a dominant segment in the society. But in a communalistic society, the word this there refers to the dominant segment. So the dominant segment in a communalistic society coincides with the whole society. That's why I think you're thinking it's the opposite. It's the opposite of what happens in other ideological settings.
Thank you. I think you have read my...
Okay. Sister Tapua, can you go ahead maybe and share your thinking on the old text, if you are okay with that?
Sister Tapua comes in. And there's another reason why brother Windhoek thinks it's the opposite, which I would have thought he'd be brave enough to share with us, but he decided not to. you see the word militant. You see the word
Yeah.
the word militant is what drew Sir Windhoek's attention, not because he's told me anything, but because that would have been to me the reason why he would pick that up as it being the opposite. Why? Because in the last, shall we say, 50 years or so, we have been made to believe that militants are only people on the left. That if you want justice, then you are militant. If you want freedom, then you are militant. If you don't want people to be free, you know you are not a militant. If you don't want people to not to be bombed in their homes, no, you are not a militant. If you don't want women and children to be killed, even in their own land, you know you are not a militant. You're only a militant if you are of the left, and the left is seen as the political spectrum that fights for justice, equality, brotherhood, and so on and so forth. So that is the reason why Sir Windhoek picked up that sentence and asked what he asked. What this paragraph is telling us, I'm not sharing my thinking yet, I'm just saying, commenting on the word. What this paragraph this sentence is telling us is that do not be deceived when they tell you that only you, the left, are militant. No. If the left is militant, the left in Africa anyway, which government on African soil today is left? Maybe Traore comes close, you might say, because of the things he's doing, and he controls the military, so maybe he's militant. Yeah, but are you telling me the French backed governments that were there that killed Sankara, are you saying that they were not militant? Is that what you are telling us? Or are they trying to tell us that when Compaore murdered Sankara, his friend, somebody that his family brought up, I mean, Sankara's family took in Compaore and brought him up as a brother. And this guy, on the instruction of the French, killed Sankara, murdered him. Are you telling me that was not militancy? Are you saying that when Olympio was killed again by the French, that is not militancy? So what this paragraph is drawing to our attention is that let's not be fooled by the right when they portray us as the militant ones. The last time I checked, the country that didn't support apartheid, the country that went to war in Syria, the country that over oil, by the way, if we remind ourselves, the country that destroyed Libya, the country that destroyed Iraq, the country that put in office Mobutu in Congo, the country that murdered Patrice Lumumba, the party that orchestrated the overthrow of Nkrumah, that militant country that bombs countries, that threw bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, that country is militant. So what our attention is being drawn to the fact that let's not think that it's only the left that is militant. The right, those who want to impose their will on the African people, those who want to steal our gold and our diamonds and put in office dictators and criminals, and these are militants. They will go to war to defend the indefensible, right? An American general, an American black general, stood in front of a committee in America and accused Traore of pocketing gold for the benefit of his private security. And therefore, implying that it was okay to overthrow him. So, Sir Windhoek,
Brother Kwame.
yeah, Sir Windhoek, yeah, I'm coming to an end. So, Sir Windhoek,
Yes.
so please, I've gone to this length to explain to you that Nkrumah is drawing your attention to the use of the word militant. So do not think that it should not be there. As Sister Tapua and others have said, and Sister Portia have said, in a communal society where the organized interest of all the people is what is to be pursued, that is a militant ideology. We will defend it with our lives. That is what he's saying. So, in the same way as capitalists are prepared to defend the indefensible with their lives, it's the same. So that is what militancy means there. It has nothing to do with the left or the right. It is a quality of ideology that if you believe in a philosophical principle and it becomes the basis for an ideology, and you believe in that so much, you are prepared, like a Jesuit, if you like, to defend it. That's what it means. Thank you.
Brother Kwame, I'm reminded somebody, I think it's Sister Tapua, asked in the chat to define particularly what is the word militant.
It's military. It's to do with the military.
Okay.
Yeah, it's to do with military. Basically, it's to do with taking up arms. It's to do with fighting. It's to do with defense. It's to do with attack. It's to do with offense.
Okay.
And when and an ideology has to be both offensive and defensive. You have to defend your interest, and at the same time, if anybody wants to attack you, you have to what? You have to attack and defend. So defense and defense, offense and defense are basically the same things. And the reason that we are where we are in Africa is because our leaders, unlike Traore, is prepared to take the fight where it matters.
Okay. Thank you for that, Brother Kwame. Before I bring Sister Tapua, I think that element of your definition then reminds us of what this quote by Mazini here on the ideology. It says that the first necessary thing is to accept that principle.
Yes.
Its development must then be confined to men who are believers in it.
Yes, and believers are prepared to lay down their lives.
Yeah.
Those of you who read the Bible will come across this quote: "Greater love has no man, than that a man should lay down his life."
Okay.
So those of you who know, you know that scripture.
Okay, so
Jesus was seen as a militant. For those of you, those who see him as one, anyway. Yeah, go on. Thank you.
So I'll go to Sister Tapua first of all to finish a thought flow. Then I'll go to Sister Portia and was up, and also Dumisani. So let me start with Sister Tapua. Sister Tapua.
Brother BJ.
Oh, Sir Windhoek. Oh, wait, Sister Tapua, wait. Sir Windhoek was first on the floor when you came in to explain what he was asking, and I think that's what has led to where we are. So, Sir Windhoek, are you done with what you were asking, or are you also willing to continue, finish your thought flow?
In this instance, militant is not synonymous with rebellious, right?
Of force.
I don't think so. Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. I just put in the chat, and I'm mindful it's only one definition, and definitions can be created. But in the chat, it concurs with what the King brother just said. Basically, that it is a force oftentimes associated with being militant. And then the definition says active, determined, and often willing to use force. So this coincides with what the King brother was saying. It doesn't matter what political scale you're on, anyone can be militant. And this is why sometimes it's only referred to one group but it can actually be a Republican in the United States of America can be militant.
Thank
Or
you.
if you're over in another country and you are more liberal, you can be militant. Pardon to interject.
Thank you. Sawindok, please, once you're done, then I can go to Sister Tapua. Sawindok?
Please go ahead. I'm
Okay.
done.
Sister Tapua,
Thank
come in. Thank you, Sawindok.
Right. Thank you. I think I'm just going to pick on that, the very sentence that we've been looking at, which reads, in every society, there is at least one militant segment, which is the dominant segment of that society. And I'm going to underline for me, which is the dominant segment of that society. So we're looking at a society that has taken a position, and part of it guards that position, which I think is contrary to what we have been lured into believing, that militancy is always the opposite of the standing of what is acceptable, or the dominant principle. But what we have here is a situation where those who are in control, for example, in the African context, the liberation movements, after independence, they are in control. But there's an element within them that is a militant segment, which is there to protect the dominance of that particular group. And I think for me, that becomes a challenge, because I believe in an African context, we're more communalistic, and therefore our principles and ideology, we are trying to have it coincide with the whole. And therein lies a problem, I think, a challenge rather, because then we need to make sure that we find something that binds us, something that is common for everyone that we can work towards. And I think with the neo-colonial problem that we have and everything else that we're trying to do, that's why we're finding Traore and his position very attractive to the whole of Africa in terms of standing up for our rights. I will end here for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Tapua. Sister Portia, before I go to Brother Dumisani.
King Brother Pigeon, I just put in the text that the reason my hand was raised was to give that a definition of militant, which I have done so my hand is lowered. Thank you.
But I'll still come back to you to also share your thinking once I go around, because you are also, we request that you share your thinking in the old text as well. So I'll come back to you on that. Brother Dumisani?
Thank you so much. I'm looking at this whole paragraph in its totality, not just focusing on the word militant.
Please, you're allowed to look at it in totality as well, brother.
Yes. So no, that's my approach. That's what I'm explaining. That's how I'm going to look at it. So the word militant in that particular segment, it's only once that it appears. In the same sentence, we talk about a dominant segment. And then in the third sentence, I'll read it quickly so that you see what I'm focusing on. I'm saying it's the militant segment, dominant segment of that society in communalistic sense. And then the next sentence says the dominant segment. And then it talks about the fundamental principles and everything. And the fourth, it starts talking again, dominant segment. And then what I'm focusing on is that militant just appears there, but maybe meaning when you look at all these sentences that it is that segment that dominates in this particular. They can dominate militarily, as we seem to be saying, but it could be just an elite group. An elite that is at the top in political circles. You choose a few people who are the elite, who then whose principles, their beliefs, and everything pervades and controls everything. Not necessarily, that's my thinking, not necessarily because they are militant in that sense, but their thinking, their principles, their beliefs, that's what, where it says that this dominant, I'm looking at the fourth sentence, this dominant segment has its fundamental principles, beliefs, nature, society, meaning that they control the thinking, they control because they're elite in one way or another, not necessarily because they are bringing this militant of fighting in it. So that's how I'm looking at it. And it goes further because when they have, in terms of my thinking, when they have instilled all that through their elitism or because we have chosen them, they are at the top, then comes the issue of comes the issue of the values and the principles to say, these principles that they come up with, they control everything. They control the organization. They are dominant in everything. And they say, with these principles, even if there may be ways of doing it or programs, you cannot move away from the principles that they would have put in. That's my reading of this, not just focusing on the word militant, because to me, it could also mean that using the word militant could also equally would have said this elitist or this dominating group or this overbearing group. That's how I look at it, that it could mean any one of those, but what comes below is exactly how they infuse, how they foster, how they make sure that whatever that they wish happens. That's how I'm reading it, not necessarily the word militant. Thank you.
Brother Dumisani, thank you very much. I would like to engage your thinking a bit on the last part of the paragraph as well. Okay.
Hold on. Let the brother know that everyone here in this meeting is allowed to share their thinking and how they see things. And in the same way as he has just shared his thinking, if somebody here wants to focus on any particular word and to contribute their thinking, that is okay as well. So for instance, all that he has said is correct, but so are correct all those who are focused on the word militancy. So I want that to be clear that first of all, everyone is free to share their thinking. Whatever word anybody chooses to focus on, that is how they want to share their thinking. Sometimes, if you remember in the past, when we've read paragraphs, sometimes people ask questions. So today, for instance, we only asked about a question about militancy, but Sir Windhoek wasn't asking for the meaning of militancy as such. He was asking that actually I didn't expect it to be here, and so I want to understand why it's there. So I'm just assuring our brother that yes, he's free to share his thinking as he sees it, but so do others. And the only time maybe we will say that someone is wrong is if what they are saying is philosophically, ideologically, and factually wrong. So for instance, if somebody tells us in this class that 2 + 2 is 10, then we will say, no, actually, 2 + 2 is 4. Come on, brother or sister. But otherwise, when we are sharing our thinking, let's all be free. This is a space that is sympathetic, is open, is supportive, and people should feel free to think whatever they think. And we are not. I'm not saying the brother is wrong, but I'm just saying that we're not in the business of saying that this person is wrong, that person is right. We're just all sharing our thinking. And as we share our thinking, what we'll find is that we are all coming around to a kind of, we might have differences here and there, like we did last week over whether Ubuntu was spirituality. But as we all know, we in this class have nothing against spirituality, because for us, spirituality is a category of matter. So we are okay with it. It is how it is expressed that we were worried about. That was all. But it's okay if brothers and sisters want to focus on African spirituality and say that for them is what is important. Ubuntu, that's fine. We have no problem with that. So yeah, so I just thought I will make that point. So everybody should feel free to share their thinking. Don't see, we don't want people to be inhibited to say that I don't want to share my thoughts in case I am wrong, or in case I am laughed at, or in case I'm humiliated. No. Please, however wise or silly my thought, I want to be in a space where I can share it freely, and I have brothers and sisters here who will support me. And if I am wrong, they'll correct me with love, with respect, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Dumisani. Thank you, Brother Kwame, for that clarification. Brother Dumisani, I still wanted to engage your thinking a bit on the last three sentences of the paragraph, Brother Dumisani, if you allow, that says that, and the same principle gave rise to a network of purposes which fix what compromises as possible or not possible. One can compromise over program, but not over principle. Any compromise over principle is the same as abandonment of it. Please, are you in a position to share with us what you think in regards to that text as well, Brother Dumisani?
Yes, I'm still there. But what came from, unfortunately, the speaker that came, it made it sound, or made me feel like I had stopped or inhibited others from talking, whereas I was putting my view in terms of the thinking of this.
Oh, feel free, brother. Feel free, brother. Don't feel. It was just saying that, of course, your initial approach of some people focusing on one area maybe brought the connotation that those people are not interested to focus on all, but you took an approach of being focusing on all. So there's just a difference in our approach. It's not anything that big, brother. Please.
Yeah, but the thing is, you are addressing me, so that's why I said.
Okay.
I'm not sure
Sorry
if it came across badly, because I felt that we're discussing to say, when looking at this text, yes, others like, well, we're looking at it from a military point of view, like the king had already talked about military, and we're focusing, and I was saying, no, I'm looking at it this way, not saying somebody's wrong. I don't think I ever said something like that. I never said. I said, this is how I approach, I see or understand it to mean.
Okay.
In case it came out wrong, but that's not what I said, and that's not what I would have intended to say. But
it's okay. It's okay, brother.
Addressing your particular, the last part of this, that's where I think that is my thinking in terms of looking at the dominant, like I said, that it's more focusing on this dominant or elitist, this particular group, that whose principles seem to be the ones that will be fostered on maybe the populace or everybody else, to say this dominant. Hence, I said, then it seems, looking at the latter part, the one that we are coming up with, that then these principles that they are bringing in, which are dominant, which becomes the values and everything, becomes the ones that will inform even the programs and maybe even organizations, so that you cannot depart on their principles. Even in whatever program, it even lastly says that you can leave the program, but you cannot leave the principles that they put in place, meaning that they can sacrifice and throw away any program long as their principles are still intact, meaning that they're dominant in that form, in that nothing moves except what they put in place for everyone. That's how I'm looking at it.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Elder Sam, please come in.
Sorry, can I come in there again?
Okay, brother, come.
Yeah, our brother. Yeah, sorry if I also came across as saying that you said something you didn't say. So yeah, no, it's fine. But can I also ask you a question and push you a little bit, because Brother Pigeon hasn't. So let me also ask you. So you say what you say, and what you're saying is correct, that the dominance is the issue. And I think what previous speakers are saying is that dominance also includes force. So if the dominant group for example, control the wealth in society, and you try to take it from them, even through legislature, like land in South Africa, there are forces that are against the democratic distribution of land that belonged to the Africans in the first place before it was all stolen. If you try to do that, there is, so the point I'm making is that don't leave out the use of force in your interpretation of dominance, which from what you are saying, I have a feeling that you seem to be saying that we should focus on all the other instruments of ideology except the use of force. But you see, the use of force by the dominant group is central in every society. If you go against what the dominant group thinks, they will use force. It doesn't mean they will kill you. It doesn't mean that. But they will take action against you in a way that they see fit. And sometimes it will be lawful, sometimes it will be unlawful, as young men in Kenya found out when they were abducted and so on. So the party in office, if you take Kenya for instance, the party in office is the dominant party. And that dominant party also controls the military. It controls the police. It controls the intelligence services. My point, brother, is that you can't take that out of the way you are looking at dominance. That's all I want to say to you. Thank you.
Okay, can I come in? I concur with you 100%. I concur with you 100%. The point why I'm saying maybe in this particular paragraph, the dominance becomes important is that how you dominate. Yes, you can dominate economically, you can dominate militarily, you can dominate politically, you can dominate, but it's dominance, yes. Obviously, here, because militance is the one that is highlighted, but the dominance that, yes, dominating with militants will definitely get that group getting anything and everything that they're looking at. No, I think we agree. I agree with you.
Yeah, and you see, but that is the point. The dominance is the militancy Nkrumah is drawing our attention to. That is what makes it militant, because it doesn't mean military, but that is so Sister Portia drew our attention to the use of force. But that is the point. It doesn't mean that the force used to kill anybody, although it can and has been done. They may just ask you to keep quiet through forces that they have control over. Like Brother Pigeon drew my attention to the fact that there was a BBC broadcast on the killings of 3 young men in Kenya, and some of the local radio stations were going to air the documentary by the BBC. And from what we understand, State House got them not to broadcast it. So brother, you are right. But I think what you are drawing our attention to is soft power. I think that's important as well. I think you are drawing attention to soft power. And that, I agree with you, brother, that is part of dominance and is part of militancy as well. Yeah, thank you.
Permit me to go to Elder Sam because of the members we have on the chat list. So please, Elder Sam, feel free to share your thinking with us.
Thank you, Brother Pigeon, and good evening, everybody on the platform. Yeah, I think I have little input today, except to say, if you take these studies that we have done throughout time, we must understand that this militancy also it's in progress. It's not static. This militancy will be dominant for a period. And because the struggle of opposites continues in any society, even in a communalistic society, those contradictions will always revolve between the dominant one at a given particular time, and as time passes, So, and we see this clearly in the South African situation, especially after Brother Kwame's input, that here we have the whole situation of the dominant part, the African National Congress that has been for 30 years the dominant factor. But I think what Kwame Nkrumah says, once the dominant factor or element compromises, I think this is where this is critical. Where the dominant factor in society compromises on principle, and this you can see in the South African context, principles of total liberation and emancipation of the African majority was compromised. And that is why we find ourselves being the dominant factor, being the African majority, being in power, but we are still not having the land that we were dispossessed. We still don't have the economy that we were dispossessed of. So I think in this context, I believe the Kwame Nkrumah is already giving us hints. And we should also understand that the dominant factor does not mean you are totally and absolutely in control, especially if you compromise on principle. Thanks.
Elder Sam, you are doing another very important thing. Because Nkrumah is saying in the almost second last sentence, is that one can compromise over program, but not over principle. In the context of South Africa and your liberation struggle, you're saying it appears that they compromise over principle instead of a program. Is that what you're saying?
Correct, my brother. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Brother Kwame is always we've been having discussions on principles and and some that are not, but I think we'll bring it later when his time comes. But thank you for sharing your thinking with us. Sister, I'll go to the next speaker in our list. Let me get to Sister Ida. Sister Ida, do you have something to share with us? I know you should be having something, of course.
No, I don't. But listening to Brother Sam, and also listening to everybody because it's been an interesting discussion. I feel that the bits I would like to touch on is what we've all been touching on within the last 2 or 3 comments. The last bit about one can compromise over program, but not over principle. And any compromise over principle is the same as an abandonment of it. Well, while I was listening to Brother Sam, I was thinking, why is no one talking about yesterday and how important yesterday was? That, people from all over the world in different countries decided to tell America, Britain and France, America and France in particular, that they're not prepared to compromise over losing one man or them trying to get rid of one man. And I do think that that is what they were saying when I read this, only because I'm trying to link something with what happened yesterday, because I think it's something I am surprised nobody's brought up. So I'm bringing it up, not that I know that I'm right in linking it to this, but I do think that people were trying to say something. And I think what they were trying to say is about not being prepared to compromise over this, a country being sidelined or marginalized or got rid of, trying to bring back old things. So I don't know. That to me, that's what I've really got to say, because I just think we should be also bringing that into our discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ida. Brother Johnson, kindly introduce yourself, if you can, maybe, so that you can know you. I know you're joining us for the first time. I see your hand is up. Johnson?
Thank you, my brother. This is not the first time I'm on this app.
I've
been on the app before, but I'm all the way over here in Jamaica.
Oh, sorry for that. Yeah, please go ahead, brother.
as a Pan-Africanist for decades, and one of the executives of the state of the African diaspora. I'm the vice prime minister in the state of the African diaspora. I thank my sister for bringing up the activities of yesterday, because I had to abort my busy schedule to be at 2 demonstrations in Jamaica, both at Emancipation Park and at Heroes Circle, where I did present to the people. And I think we have here a good platform to help to swell the throng, but we must be strategic in it. We would have seen the intent of the colonial master not to relinquish their stranglehold on the continent. And I believe they will do anything necessary to keep that, even military intervention. We need to be prepared for that and be resolute, because no meaningful changes has ever happened through democratic process or through the ballot, the voting process. We must be mindful of that. And as they have relinquished some degree of political independence, they have kept back economic independence. And we need to resist and wrestle it from them by one of the platforms that I would suggest we embark upon is to do business among ourselves, to trade among ourselves, no matter how small it is, just to begin. Newton's law of motion says the greatest force is to begin. And not until we would have been economically independent and be able to do for ourselves what we need to do and have the military might behind us. How can we have the military if we are not having the resources to do it? So I beg of us to look on the economic side of it, to start trading among ourselves. That is my suggestion as we look on other ways of moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. Would you like to come in to react to, of course, comments made by our Brother Johnson? And Brother Johnson, you feel most welcome.
Yeah,
We appreciate your presence as well, Brother Johnson.
yeah, Brother Johnson, it's good to see you again. We haven't seen you for a while, and we missed you. So it's good to have you in our midst. I want to say this very gently, very, very gently, and not in a combative way. And that is that it's not wholly correct to say that we haven't had changes except through the use of military force. I mean, you live in Jamaica, and across the ocean is America, and you know that the civil rights movement succeeded, even though there had no military force behind them. And America had changed amended its constitution to accommodate African Americans. In Ghana, we didn't have to go to war to get the British to decide to leave the Gold Coast. And Ghana came into being on the night of 6th March 1957. Yes, we accept that there were other colonial territories where there was a need for the use of force. Amilcar Cabral died because of the use of force, the militancy of the Portuguese. There was war in Angola, there was war in Algeria, there was war in South Africa for a very long time, until there was a stalemate. The spirit of the nation, it's African. Brother Sam will know more about this than myself. So I'm just saying this very gently. I'm not saying in a combative way, against anything you've said. Just to say that yes, I think what brother is it Is it Dumisa? I'm just want to get the name right. Is it Brother Dumisa?
Dumisani.
Dumisani. I think what Brother Dumisani said earlier is important, that we shouldn't only focus on the force part of dominancy, but what I would call the soft part as well, what is called soft power. Yeah, so sometimes you can change things just by, you don't have to use force sometimes to change things. Yes, sometimes there's a need for force, and that we all accept, and that is the thing about dialectics. So I just thought I will mention that, brother, that yes, and then the other thing is that we accept what you just said about the need for trading amongst ourselves. Ambassador Rowe, who is in Jamaica where you are, we are hoping she will do a presentation for us on the Lumi. I don't know how much you are associated.
Brother Kwame,
Yes.
Ambassador Rowe is in Ethiopia.
Oh, Ethiopia, but she's from Jamaica. Yes, you're right, but she's from Jamaica. Yeah. Yeah, so Ambassador Rowe is in Ethiopia, but she's Jamaican. Not sure when she spoke to her whether she was in Ethiopia or Jamaica. You think she was in Ethiopia, Brother Pigeon? Yeah, yeah. So anyway, she is Jamaican. She is in touch with the Lumi, and she's promised to do a presentation for us when they are ready. And so you might want to be there, brother, when they make that presentation. Now, in terms of trade, yes, we agree with you. We have done a session on Saturday on the African Continental Free Trade Area and the need for that trading platform and the need for us to have a currency that we trade in, that we need to stop trading in the dollar, which is not our currency. We need to start trading an African currency, which Libya, Gaddafi tried to introduce and he was murdered. So yeah, brother, we agree with everything you said. Yeah, and sister Ida, you are spot on. You said nobody mentioned it, but you've mentioned it, so that means somebody has mentioned it. Thank you. And I think you are right to point to principle and policy. I'll say more about that when I come to do my own contribution. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Komi. And I think there's an element and the reason why militancy had to be brought here to understand one of the tools used for dominating a society, as has been said. And I think it's also a pick up to us to see if we have to change it, then we need to also be prepared to be militant or any other means possible. But for that, permit me first of all to go to the next speaker. Brother Coco, please come in.
Brother, I think you are doing brother, sister. You've just heard from brother Johnson.
No, yes, we have 5 sisters. So Sister Tapov, of course, contributed. Sister Portia contributed, and Sister Ida. So others will have to go to brothers now.
Brother, I have not contributed about the paragraph.
Oh, okay. So allow this Brother Coco. Will you allow Sister go ahead?
That's what I had in mind. Thank you. Cheers.
Okay. Thanks for that reminder. Thank you. Sister Portia, please come in, then we go to Brother Coco. Of course, it's our policy based on our structures always that we hear from brother, sister. So Sister Portia, please come in. I'm sorry for that.
It's okay, brother. Apology accepted. Thank you, King brother. Brother Coco, always have my back. And there's a correction. The United States of America Civil Rights Movement, it did use force, albeit it was non-violent force. There was force. So I think we have to go into another session about the details or the many definitions of force. There are many types of force that can be used. No movement gets achieved without force, but that's another discussion. Okay, the first sentence, what it says, my interpretation, is a society is based on ideas. The second sentence is that one group in that society is the active, and I'm quoting the definition I put in the chat, quote, is active is more, quote, active, determined, and often willing to use force. So a society is based on ideas. And then that second sentence, according to my interpretation, is saying out of that society, there is a group that is more active, determined, and often willing to use force to further those ideas. In the third sentence, this one was very complicated for me. I think what is being said is that in societies that are based on its protection or sustainability, i.e. communal societies, as well as the sustainability protection of additional beings on the earth. So that could be nature, Mother Nature. That group then is going to have their actions being driven or accounted to the community. And then the fourth sentence is that the ideas form, those ideas initially in the first sentence, they form the principles, the beliefs, and how that society is going to govern. And that's centrally around man. So it's more, though it doesn't say here, it's driven by the men. I stand to be corrected on that fourth sentence. And then the fifth sentence is that those principles, those principles that are based on those ideas that are governed by that one group, and then that group now is saying, hey, these ideas are going to form the principles, beliefs, and the ideas of that society created solely for, you know, these men. Then those principles, they ultimately rule the society. And that group is agreeing that that's the foundation. So in other words, that is the way it is. That is the core of the society. So that goes to the sixth sentence, is saying that then from those principles that are based on beliefs, you're going to have what is correct and what's not correct, what is moral and what is immoral. And it doesn't go into punishment, but I'm thinking it's saying that means there's got to be some type of punishment system there. And then the seventh sentence, which goes back all the way to the first sentence, is that basically there's no compromise over those beliefs. That is, though, even though those are beliefs, they actually become the facts or the absolute. And then the eighth sentence says there's no compromise over that. So the action that I get out of that paragraph is that we as Akibulanese have to know what are our boundaries. So what are we going to tolerate and what are we not going to tolerate in a society? And this, I'm emphasizing a society. I didn't say all of Akibulan, but in each society, because another society may have different views to another society, even though it's all about Akibulan. I yield.
Oh, thank you, sister, for taking us sentence by sentence. We appreciate you sharing your thinking with us. And as you've said, we are free to share our thinking. So we will go to the next person because of our time is close. Then we will allow any comeback later once we finish our list here. So I haven't, Elder Glenn of course has confirmed that you'll be listening. So let me go to then Brother Coco. Brother Coco, then General Anunnaki.
Thank you. I was thinking this is going to be a quick one, and people are agreeing on what the paragraph is saying, but it looks like there's still a lot that we can say. There's still a lot that we can say, which again shows that even the eye can look at one thing and then someone see from this perspective and another from a different perspective. I would like to recall what my brother from Jamaica said, Brother Johnson. Brother Johnson said, we cannot achieve anything from the ballot. And I think Brother Kwame said, there have been some changes. I think what my brother is saying, simply trying to interpret him, is that we are in a system that uses democracy as a Trojan horse. Let me explain that. By a Trojan horse is that the democratic system which we are using today is a system of dominance. Shall I explain that again? It's a system of dominance. It's all about who goes past the post. It's not about the representation of the people. It's not about to represent what the people want. It's who has more money, who can dominate that system. And that's what we are seeing in America. Lots of people are turning up to vote, whether they are voting for Trump or they are voting for Kamala. At the end of the day, they don't benefit. It's the big money, the big companies who benefit from that. So it's a system which has been spread around the world. And what they are doing is they don't want people compromising on the democratic principles according to them. According to them is their democratic principles. So they look at Traore and say Traore has got power by force, and he hasn't held elections. So he's undemocratically elected or undemocratically appointed. And to them, that's a compromise on the principles of democracy, according to them. All right? Because I'm not saying according to me. Because in this case, we know what democracy is. Democracy is a system of rule which wells from the people, is what the people want. And if the people want Traore there, it doesn't matter who else says what or whatever principles they are there. It's the fundamental principles of the people of Burkina Faso in this case. They think the person who will rule for us is the people who does what we want them to do. So in this case, we are talking about communalism. Let's look at what communalism means. It's a community base. And in a community base is a setting where people sort of understand each other. You live with your neighbor, you know who your neighbor is, what they drink, what they like to eat, stuff like that, what they like, what they don't like. And you bring that knowledge into the society, it becomes communalism. And as a communalistic way of doing things, you sort of get along, you gel. So in that society, you don't have one segment dominating over other segments, because you are all one word, one voice. You're all on the same page. That's what that is about. Communalism coinciding with a dominant segment. But we know in our case, let's go back to what we said before about the social milieu. The social milieu that we have in Africa is very much out of kilt with what the Africans want. The Africans are using capitalism. Capitalism is for the few. And majority of the Africans are poor, landless, dispossessed. But because there's a system that dominates them, the system that you can call it is a dictatorship. It's a dictatorship in a sheepskin in this case. You get it? So it's not working. It's not coinciding with the communalistic spirit of the Africans. So again, before I log off, let me say fundamental principles. What do we understand by that? Fundamental, they are a bedrock for any system of thought. So in this class, we're talking about philosophy. We know that there are two types of the philosophical thoughts. There is a materialist philosophical thought, and there's a spiritual, idealistic philosophical thought. And once you compromise on the material philosophical thought, you go with the other system of philosophical thought, you are going to take whatever they tell you. You're going to be tricked into believing that their system works for your problems, but it's not. It's not working for your problems. Actually, it's serving them better than it's serving you. So that's where the idealistic system comes in. The materialist principles that we have in Africa are we have material resources in Africa, we have our minerals, and we should be using that to develop ourselves, carry ourselves forward, progress ourselves. But we are not doing that. So in short, we are lining up on the idealistic philosophical thought coming from the West, which is based on democracy, which has actually been faked, or how do I say, watered down. Because the democratic system we have now is not egalitarianism at all. It's not Ubuntu based. It's not a human based. It's not humane, in short. And that's where we come to the people who is enforcing that system. Who is enforcing it? Is the people of power, and is the people who are militant. So those who left, they said that they were living after independence. They never left. They only left their puppets with guns. And those puppets continue to do it. And this didn't start here in Africa. It started here in Europe, where Ireland was dominated, Wales was dominated, Scotland, they came into some partnership after several years of fighting. But they exported that system to us and are still dominating us. And with the French system, it's worse. I won't even go in there. So let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Coco. I'll go to General Nunaki, but I would like to comment just briefly. I think also democracy can only work among equals. In an unequal society where people are not equal, especially in a capitalist society, having any democracy becomes a bit difficult. That's my own observation anyway. But I don't want to delve into that. Probably I'll comment to it later. So let me go to General Nunaki first. General Nunaki?
Yes, my Lord. Give thanks, Son of the Lake. Give thanks, family. Yeah, okay. My take on this is that what I've been always saying,
That the system, the African social system or the government system of Africa was obviously brought here by our ancient black ancestors more than 400,000 years ago. So the dominant group in this aspect, we can say, it's our black African gods. They are the dominant ones. And we are the common or the nobles, their sons, their descendants. Why I'm saying that? Because if you can look at how we governed the world prior to the colonialism of the so-called Arabs and the so-called whites, is that in the top was the god, maybe the god of Africa or the one in charge of Middle East or America. And then right beside him is the king and the queen. And then down is the priest. And so I think those things were actually good because they brought order. So I would say in this aspect, the program, we lost the program due to colonialism as Africans in the world, because we were conquering, we ruled the world, not just ruling Africa. So we lost the program, but we didn't lose the principles, because the principles are engraved in our DNA. So I'll stop there for now. Thanks.
Oh, yes, thank you, Elder, not Elder actually. You deserve to be an elder based on the wisdom you have anyway. Brother Kwame.
Yes, can I chair so that you can also have the chance to share your thinking?
Brother the King Maul is left. Only Brother the King.
That's fine. But you haven't
Okay.
You haven't spoken either yourself.
Yes, I haven't. So please help me. Take over, please.
That's okay. Before I go to Siddiqui, Sapua has a hand up. So, Mr. Tapua, did you want to come back with something? Sister Tapua?
Yes, whilst listening to, hello? Oh,
Yeah, go on, go on.
okay, you can hear me. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm trying to work in my mind the dance between the dominant and compromise. And what I'm seeing here is they can never be true dominance, because for the parties that dominate to dominate, they must compromise. But the question is, the point is, they're compromising on program and not on principle. And the question that I put in the chat was, as Africans regaining our independence, were we blinded to think that this was a change of principle? Because what we're seeing on the ground is a change of program. In other words, they felt pressurized because we'd become militant. We're trying to gain back what we lost, but they're not prepared to change the principle. So they compromise and say, okay, you gain your independence. Even you begin to use the word got independent and all these words that actually show that we're in their program. And we are now trying to work out a way of continuing to use force so that we become dominant. Am I correct in thinking that this is where?
Yes, Tapua, you are sharing your thinking on facts rather than on the paragraph that we've been reading. So when you state facts like you've just done, then it's open to challenge, because my brother who's not here, who was part of the Liberate Uganda, will tell you that nobody gave us independence. We fought for it. Right? We fought for it. So the idea that somebody sat somewhere and gave us independence is not correct. So those are facts. So when you put it that way, it can be open to challenge. But when you share your thinking on a paragraph like we are reading now, that is your thinking, and you can think whatever you like, and that's fine. So what I would say is that factually, what you have said was strictly correct. Some countries, Algeria had to go to war to get independence from France. Angola had to go to war. South Africa had to go to war. As Brother Anunnaki said, I don't know of any African country, if anybody knows one, that said to the Europeans that we have decided now we don't want to rule ourselves, so come and rule us. I am not aware that any African people told the Europeans to come from Europe and come and impose colonialism on us and rule us. And the whole point about the struggle for independence was that we were taking back the program of government that was taken from us. But we have never lost the principle as Africans that we have a right to govern ourselves. That principle never changed, not as far as I know. So, Sister Tapua, let's not this become a back and forth debate. Yeah, let's hear people's thinking. We'll come back. Yeah, let's hear others people's thinking. So, let's hear. Yeah, but Sister Tapua, this is a philosophical way we hear everybody's thinking. Some people have still not spoken yet, and you've spoken a few times. Let's hear what from other people, please. You can come back when we've heard from other people. I was just correcting some facts. I'm not challenging your thinking with respect to the paragraph.
You said that I'm not basing what I'm saying on the text. If we look at the last two sentences there, one can compromise over program, but not over principle. That's what gave me the question that I asked.
But Sister Tapua, Nkrumah wrote several books, and he's made it very clear that the reason we were under no illusion that independence was the end of our struggle. And Nkrumah made it clear on the 6th of March when he spoke to the Ghanaian people, to the world, that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa. And Nkrumah made that very clear, that the struggle doesn't end with independence. It must carry on to the unification of Africa. And here you are telling us that who put it in our mind that independence was no, that is not correct, Sister Tapua.
That's not what I was saying. And I'm saying to you, that's not what I was saying. And I'm saying to you that you've misunderstood me. That's all I want to say.
Sister Tapua, we have the recording of what you said. We can come back to it later. I think I heard you very clearly asking who put it in our mind that independence, having independence was, was the end, or that is it. I'm saying no, nobody, as far as I know, the freedom fighters never said that the struggle for independence ended. Well, Nkrumah never said that anyway. He never said that. And George Pardon was his right-hand man, who was heading the African Bureau. They never said that Ghana getting its independence was the end of the struggle. And when they left Manchester in 1945, they never told Banda to do what he went to do in Malawi. I think we covered that earlier in our WhatsApp group. There was an extensive discussion. Sister Chizomo shared with us videos of Brother Banda dining with the Queen and saying all kinds of nonsense. Anyway, let's hear other people's views. So Tapua, feel free to come back, but let's hear what others have to say. Brother the King, I hear you haven't spoken yet. The King Mauli. Okay, he's probably not ready to speak.
No, yes, the greatest, but I've not. I'll have to come back.
Okay, you haven't been listening to us?
Yeah, I've not been able to read the text yet.
But you've heard what others have to say.
Exactly, I do.
And what do you think? What do you think about what you've heard so far?
Well, for me, I agree with the brother from Jamaica. That we need to trade among our.
Yes, go on.
Is that we need to trade among ourselves as people, and to better foster the strength of our economic strength to be able to take decisions, because these people at the end of the day will actually use other means, economic means to put us in our places, especially with what has taken place yesterday. And they've been trying to do that. They are closing in on us in every angle, in all ways. So what are we also doing as people who are being suppressed to make sure we are totally on our feet? We don't depend on them in any way for our survival. So I think it all begins with trading among ourselves to unite our race as people.
Brother the King, Brother the King, why just trade? Why don't you also intermarry?
Oh, intermarry. Nkrumah has solved that problem already.
Yeah, yeah. Why don't Ghanaians go and marry Zimbabweans like Brother Mugabe did?
And we are not getting access to them. Sometimes it becomes very difficult.
Let's go and marry. Kenyans must come and marry Gambians. Gambians must go and marry Libyans, and so on. How about that?
So we need to have a program there to expose each other to, because that is another issue. We do not have programs among ourselves on the continent. Except education. I don't know which other programs we have to make that, to create that fertile ground for that to take place. It's just like Ghana here, we have that as a prototype where we all intermarry all over the place. But continentally, how are we doing that? What platform are we using to breed that to happen?
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Okay. Let's hear from Brother Pigeon. who else also want to share this thing?
Brother Kwame, I think today you've cornered me to to come clean to share my thinking on this.
Because, yeah, Brother Pigeon, I had the same problem you have. When you are sharing something, you don't get to share your thinking.
Thank you. I'll like to remind members that, of course, we have a Saturday session dedicated for issues of unification, all topics on trade development and liberalization. So we can still have a big space to discuss issues of intertrade and the rest probably on our Saturday sessions. I'm interested here, Brother Kwame, when it said that it can be said that in every society there's to be found an ideology. What constitutes a society? How big can a society be? Can a country be considered a society? Or a society should only be at a small number of people?
Well, let's ask the floor. What do people think?
What's the limit of a society?
I think here, and this is Krishna. Thank you for your question, King Brother Pigeon. I think if we go back to the paragraph that we are interpreting, what we think, here there is no specification of how large or how small a society is. It is just that the Dr. Nkrumah is saying to us what has the different thinking that has been said. I don't need to repeat it, but if we go back to just the text of what Dr. Nkrumah has written, society is not a certain number of people or a certain region.
Thank you. Are you sure in asleep?
Okay, thank you for that. Now, I can take, for example, this society to be the black society. Let me consider that in every society there can be found an ideology. So I'll use this interpretation probably to within our black society, and not looking at a society at a level of a small community. Now it says that in every society there's at least one militant segment, which is dominant segment of that society, which you have already discussed. And this militant segment is actually dominant based on its militancy. They don't lack in a society. Even if you look at the traditional African society, there are those who are wealthy in terms of the cows they had or things like that. But I'm interested in the second aspect, which says that in communalist society, this segment coincides with the whole, which means in the communalist society, either all are militant or all are dominant. So there's no segment that is either dominated. Everybody in that communist society is equal. So they're either dominant, all of them, or something of that sort, or there's no dominancy, so they're all equal. I'm interested also in saying that this dominant has its fundamental principle. I'm interested on that. Look, for example, the black society across the globe today. If we consider ourselves as the black society across the globe today, what is our ideology? It's a black society. And are we, because we are living now in a society that's either communalist, capitalist, and the rest, what is going to be our fundamental principles as a black society? And when we talk of it's the nature of men, it's not a male person, men in the, how maybe man is used in the Bible, in the context of both female and male. So what is the principles or the fundamental principles of us as a black society? If you have to be the dominant society in the globe, of course we are close in the same of numbers and the rest, but what will be that our principle, fundamental principle? And this principle will help us as a people in designing and controlling the type of the society or the organization in the dominant segment use. So this principle will help us either to come up and design a united continental government, or to come up with a global society or a world where we can then run what we want. The problem, again, if you look at the element of organization, it comes in. Look at the organizations we have, whether in terms of a country, in terms of African Union and everything else. Are they really rooted and founded on our fundamental principles? Were they really designed in a manner that can help us take control of our welfare? And it says again, the same principle gave rise to network of purposes. So we cannot attain a proper purpose as a people, as a black society, if we are not rooted in a principle that is rooted in an ideology. So it takes us back again. What is our ideology as a black society? What's our fundamental principles as persons or people? And how can we have actually our purposes which then fix what we can compromise as possible and what not to compromise? Because we cannot speak of what we can compromise and what we cannot compromise if we don't agree on what is our fundamental ideology or what is our fundamental principle. And it's very clear, and I think this is very important, that one can compromise over program, but not over principle. If we don't have a clear principle, then we might end up compromising on even that so-called principle because we don't understand it or don't know about it. And any compromise over principle is same as abandonment of it. So we can, this to me, this paragraph is trying to talk about how we as a community or a society can organize ourselves. And our organization must start with an ideology, and that ideology as the black community must be communalistic in a matter that it coincides with the whole of us in a society. And that ideology should give us the fundamental principles which gives us what we should compromise and what not to compromise. So basically that will be my brief thought for this paragraph for today. Thank you, Brother Kwame.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Pigeon. I think we've heard from everyone. Is that correct? We've heard from everyone.
Yes, Brother Kwame.
Yeah. So I have in the process shared my thoughts here and there. But yeah, we've heard from everyone. The time is now 80 minutes to 9. So shall we call it a day and hear the announcements and that's it? Yeah.
Brother Kwame, you haven't shared your thinking.
Yeah, I have in the process, haven't I? So what I would add to everything that everyone has said, and I agree with what everyone has said.
But Brother Kwame,
yes,
what will be our fundamental principles as a society?
What is the generative principle that underlies society? And for us, as Brother Coco is here, he will remind us it's a way in which Ubuntu has been defined as our humanity, which is rooted in matter. And so Ubuntu, if you like, the principle that all human beings are equal, and therefore that we are all equal as humans. And if we are all equal as humans, as human beings, then we are all entitled to human rights, if you like, by which I mean the right to have to live in a decent home, the right to have decent drinking water, the right for our children to be in school, the right to have enough food to eat, food security, if you like, the right to trade with whoever we like, the right to speak freely, the right, the freedom of association, the right to worship whoever we like, whatever we like, the right not to worship people like. So those human needs and human rights, if you like, that the principles that they apply equally.
Okay, Brother Kwame, I wanted to tell this.
It's more important. No one is more important or more deserving than another human being.
So, Brother Kwame, then now we can never compromise on any equality.
No, we can't compromise on equality.
We can't compromise on equality, which means anytime. Yes, so that then becomes what you can never compromise.
Human equality, which is rooted in the fact that the human is part of nature, and the universe in which we live is natural, and its basis is matter with its laws, its objective laws. That this human, what we are, this human being, that we are all equal. That principle that we all equal cannot be compromised. That is why we are against the current dominant system that privileges skin color of a certain tone over others. That's why we think it's wrong. It's morally wrong, but they have nuclear weapons, so we have to be careful how we fight them, if you like. So yeah. So that was the principle. Sister Tapoa, no, it was Sister Portia, I think, who in her Sister Portia, in your presentation, you said that the basis of society is ideas. Is that correct? Did I hear you right? I don't want to.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked this question, because I think as human, I think we forget that our societies have been built on ideas.
Okay,
that is our fallibleness. And then I wanted to push something quickly. I'm mindful of
but hold
time.
on. The reason I asked you, the reason I asked you is that because you are free to put it that way if you like, but ideas, society is based on human beings, and human beings have human bodies, and their bodies are rooted in the soil in which they live. They live on land, and they live in concrete circumstances. So to say that societies are based on ideas is partly correct, but we would say that society is based on matter, and by matter we mean the land and everything above the land, the air we breathe, because if we can't breathe air, we can't live. And air is matter. So we are human. So society, there's no society that can subsist without the people, they're breathing fresh air, if you like. If they breathe poison, they will die. So the idea that society is based on ideas is not wrong. It's partly correct. And we have no problem with that, because we argue that ideas themselves are a category of matter, just as the mind is a category of matter. So I just thought I was just want to be sure I heard what you said, so that we take the materialist position. Of course, those who say that society, the basis of society is ideas, we call those idealists, because they think that ideas are the basis of the universe in which we live. So when you believe that the universe is based on ideas and spirits, then we say you're an idealist. We are not against you, but we just want to make the philosophical clarification clear, so we all understand where.
But I didn't say I was an idealist, and I don't want to be classified as such.
I know you didn't say that. You didn't say that. I'm just saying that anyone who says that society is based on ideas is an idealist. I'm not saying you are an idealist.
Brother, you're saying I'm an idealist. I am not an idealist.
Mr. Portia, that is your reading of what I'm saying. I am not saying you're an idealist, because I don't know if you're an idealist or not. What I am explaining is that anyone who says that, because I cannot assume that you said everything you want to say about the issue. I can't make that assumption. But I'm just saying that if anybody believes that beliefs and feelings and human feelings and so on and thoughts are the basis of a society, I'm saying that philosophically they are called idealists. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying you're an idealist, sister. Because yes.
Yes. I think thanks for that clarification, as you said, Brother Kwame. I think you'll get us towards the end of it, maybe either leading us towards the announcement of our class as well, Brother Kwame. Please do that as we come to an end.
No, you do that, and then bring the meeting to a close, because the time is 9. Unless you've forgotten the topic, I can remind you.
Yeah, I'll be trying to check on my schedule every time and again.
Sorry. Hold on. The topic is TISA, which is science, technology, the program, the scientific program for Africa. So this Saturday we'll be looking at which will be the, let me just get the date. So Saturday will be the 3rd, I believe. Yeah, the 3rd of May. And we'll be discussing. Actually, the program I mentioned in the last brother I was one topic ahead. The topic actually for this Saturday is economic regulations harmonization. So I actually give the wrong one. So yeah, Brother Pigeon, is economic regulations harmonization. TISA is the week after that. Economic regulations harmonization. So harmonizing economic regulations across Africa.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Kwame, for that information. And I think that's when I will be discussing issues, the trade and everything else, and how we can harmonize for the purpose of unification as a people. So, comrades, thank you very much for your attendance today. And let's look forward to that session on Saturday. All recordings for this week will be available next week. And we also invite you to the next Thursday class. We are also looking forward for sisters who are willing to be speakers to our forthcoming African Liberation Day. Please come forth and present themselves for that purpose of African Liberation Day. You're most welcome and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Night.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.